And good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Um, Thank you, especially to Vice Mayor Rachel Kurtz for organizing. Really appreciated her responsiveness and willingness to meet when I first contacted her. We're really grateful to have this opportunity to spread the word and educate the community on today's topic, which is intoxicating hemp and marijuana products, how they're being designed and marketed to appeal to youth. And that's a big deal because the science tells us that young people are the most vulnerable to the harmful effects of cannabis as their brains are still developing. They're more likely to become addicted and they're more likely to suffer from mental illness with regular use, especially of the high potency products that we're seeing today. And I want to make clear at the outset, we're not talking about responsible adult cannabis use, but we do see a huge need to address these products when it comes to youth. So it's great to see a mix of local Marin legislators and community members and parents. As Rachel said, we're all community members here, and there's a lot that we can do by working together on this issue. The presentation is especially timely this week as it's 420 happening on Thursday. And I'm guessing that most of you by now have heard of 420, know what it is, how the term has become code for all things related to cannabis. But if you don't, it began here in Marin, San Rafael High School in the 70s. It's literally gone global with April 20th being an international event to, quote, celebrate using cannabis. So you'll hear about it this week. A little background on who I am and the Marin County organizations who I work with. I've lived in Larkspur for the past 24 years, raising 3 kids who are now in their 20s. They all went to Redwood High School. And for the past 12 years, I've worked on educating Marin parents on youth substance use, from alcohol to vaping to drugs laced with fentanyl these days, through an organization I founded called Be the Influence. And in particular, I have about a decade of experience educating community members and legislators on today's marijuana, which is really a different drug from when we were in high school or college, and the impact of retail storefronts. So I have volunteered with many others in the community for an organization called Marin Healthy Youth Partnerships, or MHIP. Our acronym, it's a county and federally funded coalition that addresses our high substance use rates. And some of you tuned in February to the Marin Council of Mayors and Council members, and you heard MHIP's Executive Director, Kelsey Fernandez, who is here today helping with the slides, along with Dr. Lynn Silver, who you're again going to hear from about her organization's legislative efforts on the state level. Next slide, please. So lastly, I am a co-founder with several amazing people on this Zoom who also volunteer their time to an organization called Marin Residents for Public Health Cannabis Policies. I know I'm throwing out a lot of names and acronyms, but it's all to say there are a lot of community people that are working to address substance use issues here. Some of us have lost kids to cannabis for a couple of years, maybe ourselves as adults. Some have lost their kids forever. And it's those parents who work with Marin Residents for Public Health Policies that inspire the rest of us to do this work and volunteer our time. We were created, Marin Residents for Public Health Policies, as an offshoot last year in response to a ballot initiative in Sausalito in November. It was named Measure K. It was a so-called citizens initiative that was really a corporate-backed effort to open a recreational store in Sausalito in a location of that company's choosing. And our group worked closely with a diverse group of Sausalito residents and all the Sausalito City Council members. And we educated the community. We provided transparency that wasn't coming from the cannabis company on what Measure K would have done if it had passed. And we're happy to say that it did not pass. Our No to Measure K campaign garnered 74% of the vote. And that's noteworthy because pretty much the same number, 77% of Sausalito residents voted for Prop 64 to legalize recreational marijuana back in 2016. So those two numbers really show that people in Sausalito, people here in Marin, broadly support decriminalization of marijuana, but Marin people know, and our legislators have known, that we need to be careful not to follow the path of alcohol and tobacco industries with heavy commercialization or oversaturation when it comes to retail stores. The Measure K campaign gave us invaluable experience. We're now seasoned veterans of what was a very contentious campaign. And if future ballot initiatives are launched in other Marin towns, in your towns, please reach out to us, because we can be a resource and the resource really for city council members and voters. We can also be viewed as local experts on the ground when it comes to the THC cannabis industry. We're the ones who are paying attention to what's out there, what our youth are using, how they're accessing these products, and where the industry is going. And we follow the latest research on the public health harms that especially impact our kids. And when we don't understand something, we go to Dr. Lynn Silver and her expert staff at the Public Health Institute to explain the science and the research to us. We did this with hemp because, as you'll hear, it's really complicated. So next slide, please. So we follow what are now 3 industries, THC industries, that are targeting youth with their products. The first is the commercial cannabis industry that developed from legalization, even though we were supposed to have public health and youth protections in California with Prop 64. We are seeing blatant marketing and product development strategies that target youth. This is an industry that has taken its pages from the old tobacco playbook that was used for decades, but is now subject to strict prohibitions. And we saw Juul and flavored vapes do the same thing, and then they ran into trouble and now have restrictions. But the cannabis industry... Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Sorry. I just heard some noise. The cannabis industry has been following big tobacco and vaping industry, but because of the politics of the moment and the huge amount of money that's involved, their political influence, they've somehow been given a pass, and they're getting away with these products that target youth unless we do something about it. So the newest thing, the second industry that we're going to discuss first, are the intoxicating hemp products. They're flooding the market these days. This is something that we only got up to speed on just a few months ago. We were on a Zoom call with public health advocates from Southern California counties and Colorado who follow the industry, and the subject turned to these hemp products, and we had no idea whether or not they were being sold at stores in Marin. So we went looking for them. We found them, and we know what we found is the tip of the iceberg. How these products came to be is a really long and complicated story. We explain it in our new blog on the Be the Influence website at betheinfluencemarin.org. Intoxicating hemp products, what you need to know. So if you really want to understand the mess that the Farm Bill created that wasn't fixed by California's legislation, the blog's an 8-minute read. But basically, the Farm Bill created 2 legal classifications of cannabis, marijuana and hemp. It removed hemp from the list of federally controlled substances, and it was supposed to help struggling farmers, which sounded good, but it was poorly written. It had loopholes that the cannabis industry ran a Mack truck through. It got creative and basically converted the CBD in the plant, which doesn't get you high, into intoxicating chemical variants, which do get you high. And that has led to a crazy proliferation that you'll see in this slide of products, edibles, beverages, inhaled vapes, smoked flower. And it's all very loosely regulated in California with little enforcement, if any, and it all poses serious health risks. The most well-known is Delta 8, but there's over 24 other variants with other letters and numbers that'll make your head spin. And the crazy thing about all this is that there's no federal or state legal minimum age requirement. So technically, a middle schooler can go in and buy these products legally. So of course, the third industry is the illicit illegal market. It was supposed to go away, but it's thriving, driven by the legal cannabis industry, with the THC products being sold that are more potent than ever before. The good news is, while it's a mess, we have the power to take action, and that's what we're going to emphasize today. Learn about the products being marketed to youth. We're doing that as an organization, but we need to spread awareness and engagement by our community and local legislators. So what have we found in Marin? Well, this slide shows you, we visited the VIP vape store on 2nd Street in San Rafael. And this is just a small sampling of a huge array of colorfully packaged hemp products, candy rope, sour belts. It was overwhelming. And you can see the array of various compounds in addition to Delta 8, THCP, BO, etc. Next slide. Next up is San Rafael 4th Street, the Mighty Quinn Smoke Shop, Delta 8 gummies in the form of watermelon slices, unsubstantiated health claims, relief for pain, energy, sleep, because there's such poor regulation, and they can see that. And you can see the Looper vapes on the left, a colorful assortment of vapes. Next slide. I stumbled on these products when I went to fill up my gas tank at the 76 gas station on Tamalpais in Corte Madera, and walked into the convenience store. Right there next to the cash register are these gummies and grape and peach syrups. And you can see the cartoon, let's get Terpsy, a little spaceship. Amazingly, the gummies and syrup bottles were lined up on shelving just below Whippet butane, which middle school kids love to inhale to get a rush. And you can see the huge amounts of THC, 300 milligrams, 200 milligrams. Next slide. Going back to one of the VIP products, Magic Rainbow, it deserves a close-up because these hemp products are marketed to and have a reputation that they give users a milder high without the paranoia. But this review proves otherwise, and it shows how potent that the products can be. Next slide. Hemp products are being sold online. Even Amazon has them. This site is called Binoid. It specializes in hemp with a huge array of variants, claims they're natural, 420 pre-game deals. Next slide. And finally, the biggest cannabis company in the world, Cookies, has gotten into hemp. This is one of hundreds of cannabis and now hemp products that are probably the most egregious in terms of their appeal and marketing to youth. You can see the Cookies Cape Mix vape, and this new hemp lineup recently dropped. We went on the website and it was sold out. And it's important to know for us in Marin what Cookies is because there are local ties. Its founder, nicknamed Berner, um, has become one of the richest legal cannabis entrepreneurs in the world. He was dubbed by Forbes magazine as the king of cannabis. On the cover in, I guess it's blurred, but he was on the cover of Forbes in September, became famous for his first strain called Girl Scout cookies, had to change the name when they threatened to sue. But the license for his first store in San Francisco was secured by the political operative for London Breed, who was behind the Sausalito's Measure K initiative that we battled. And Berner has a home in San Rafael in the country club area. And it houses his, what he calls his creative cannabis compound, where Cookies churns out YouTube, Instagram, and other social media content.
5 minutes, Lori, just giving you a time check.
Yeah, so let's move on to slide 13. These are legal and supposedly regulated. And this slide shows how the cannabis industry is borrowing from the tobacco play group. This next slide shows copycat products, Funyuns, McDonald's. And then this slide, next slide, is one of Cookie's most popular brands, cereal milk, Fruit Loop colors, and a Batman t-shirt. Next slide. This is the next slide. Oh, here we go. Yeah. This is more Cookies products. Pre-rolls, which are smoked with sweet names. Makes you hungry if you have a sweet tooth like me. Next slide is just Berner's brilliant marketing targeting kids. If there was ever a question that they're grooming future users, from a very young age, look at this teddy bear and skateboard backpack. That's where he's made his money. Next slide. And then finally, on the delivery side of the legal cannabis market, these next two slides show the products that Nice Guys Delivery of San Rafael can bring to your doorstep. Gummies in all sorts of flavors. And with that, I will transition to Dr. Lynn Silver, and she's going to talk about local jurisdictions, what they can do, what we can do to support statewide legislation that her organization has drafted.
Thank you, Lori. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm Lynn Silver, Senior Advisor at the Public Health Institute, and professor at UCSF, and a pediatrician. I live in Berkeley, but my daughter's marrying into a Marin family, so soon to be strong Marin connections, and used to be the Sonoma County Health Officer. Next slide, please. So we coordinate something called Getting It Right from the Start. First of all, in terms of legal cannabis products that are attractive to kids, local government can do a great deal. You can regulate what products are allowed for sale. We have model language on preventing products whose packaging, labeling, or advertising is attractive to kids. And even when you don't license stores, for example, many Marin locations only allow delivery from outside, or some allow local delivery. You can regulate what products can be delivered to Marin, and also how products and services can be advertised. Model language for doing so is on our website, Getting It Right from the Start, or you can reach out to me at any time, and we work with jurisdictions and with Marin Healthy Youth Partnership on these issues. Next, please. At the state level, we have been urging the state for years to strengthen their regulation of what is attractive to children. There were general provisions in this regard in Prop 64, but they have been actually undermined by current regulation. We have a bill in the state legislature this year, AB 1207, Irwin, and we would welcome the support of your cities and counties. It strengthens the definition of what is considered attractive to kids. It would clearly prohibit the sale, manufacture, packaging, labeling, or marketing of these products. It is being weakened in committee tomorrow, so some of the provisions that we had hoped to pass are getting knocked out by the first committee, including requiring that you can't have 10 doses of cannabis in a single energy drink size can, for example, and that candies and gummies can't be brightly colored because we're seeing huge numbers of pediatric poisonings from many of these products. But it will also get rid of flavorings or marketing as flavored of cannabis products intended for inhalation, like vapes and concentrates and dabs, the ones that are kind of the cannabis parallels to flavored jewel. And this is, as far as we know, being retained in the bill, so that will be very important progress. Many of the worst and most offensive products I've actually seen are from the Cookies brand. So we hope that your cities and counties will support this bill. Next, please. Please email committee members, chief of staff, ledge directors for the Assembly Business and Professions Committee and subsequent committees. Tweet, tag, whatever you can do to help would be greatly appreciated. That is going to Assembly Business and Professions tomorrow morning. Next, please. But I'm going to talk more about hemp today. So this is a very serious issue, as Lori just outlined. Next, please. What has happened at the state level, so the Farm Bill passed in 2018, legalizing hemp. In 2021, California passed AB 45 that basically said it's fine to adulterate foods and supplements with cannabinoids from hemp. They portrayed it as legalizing CBD, but in reality, the way it was written, it legalized intoxicating compounds as well. CDPH was given the authority to regulate this and limit the types of products or impose age limits, but to date, they have done nothing on those issues. And they have told us just this past week that they expect it will take another 3 years at least to do so. They did take some initial action this month, sending cease and desist letters to producers of unregistered products. And they have told us that they feel that these artificial cannabinoids that are such a hazard, the intoxicating products like Delta 8 and others, are illegal under provisions of AB 45, but they have not publicized this or done much of anything about it. You can, I believe, ask CDPH to enforce against those types of products, as well as for inhaled hemp products, which are currently illegal. But as far as I know, they have not been doing much. So that's a continuing problem and a reason to take local action. Next, please. So why is local action needed? Basically because the state to date has failed to use its regulatory authority to protect children or other consumers from dangerous intoxicating hemp compounds, which they can purchase, unlike legal cannabis, which at least says it has age limits. Again, the original intent of the Farm Bill and the implication of AB 45 was that it would only allow non-intoxicating products, but poor drafting and creative chemistry have really led to another reality altogether, so that children, youth, and unwary consumers are exposed daily to intoxicating products, often in much higher doses than legal cannabis edibles. A single package may have 50 times the maximum amount allowed in a legal cannabis edible package. And with these chemically contrived THC cannabinoids, for which we have little or no information about safety of exposure. Next, please. Do you have the authority to prohibit the sale of these hemp-derived intoxicating cannabinoids? So we have consulted two legal sources. One is Michael Colantuno, who's a very prominent expert in local public law, and he has concluded that he sees nothing to preempt local control, and that local government has a history of regulating things sold in head shops before the state does. Michael's been a long-time advisor to LCC. We also consulted the Public Health Law Center, which similarly concluded, absent a clear intent to preempt local regulation, California localities enjoy broad home rule police powers under the Constitution that they can use to promote the health, safety, and welfare of their communities, and that there's no manifest intent to preempt local regulations. So the Public Health Law Center also believe that you have the authority to do this, although they do note that nobody's tested it in the courts yet. Next, please. So we've proceeded with writing a model local hemp ordinance. It's almost ready to go. We have a draft. This ordinance would do the following. It would prohibit the sale of intoxicating hemp products. So it doesn't get into prohibiting CBD, although CBD has its own issues, but it would prohibit the sale of these products outside of the legal cannabis system that will get people high. It would limit intoxicating cannabinoids to 1 milligram per package outside of legal cannabis retailers. It would also prohibit the sale of this whole host of chemically contrived new cannabinoids, of which there's about 20 and the list is constantly growing. Really the most dangerous of these are ones like THCP that are far more potent than traditional Delta-9 THC. The model ordinance also requires age 21, that people be 21 to purchase other hemp-derived cannabinoid products, including CBD, because we really don't know much about the effects of CBD on the developing brain, although we do know that THC is problematic. And it would also prohibit hemp products attractive to children. I actually hadn't included in the model, but listening to Lori, I'm thinking we maybe should also include a prohibition on delivery from outside. So I may add that language. Next, please. So this is almost ready to go, but the draft language is being reviewed by Michael Colantuno, which I hope should help reassure your city council, city and county councils who will worry about the same issues he does. But we should have a full draft ready for prime time in a week or two, I think. Next, please. I've shared preliminary drafts with Marin Healthy Youth Partnership. Next, please. So really on hemp specifically, where there does not appear to be action by the state, we recommend cities and counties act now to ban these intoxicating products. It really is, I believe, the only effective way to protect kids and adults. We have been trying to get the author of AB 45 to do a technical amendment to correct it at the state level, but so far that has not occurred. Current state policy really fails to protect kids, and regulatory policy is not expected for the next several years in the absence of new legislation. So we know Marin has been a leader over many years in protecting children and youth on tobacco and other issues, and we really hope that you will take the lead on this as well. Next, please. Is there a next, or was that the last one?
Yeah, so why don't I jump in? I will jump in here on the call to action. Yeah, thank you, Lynn. Here's the thing, Marin County has been a leader for years on tobacco. It's time to do the same thing on cannabis and hemp. As Lynn said, calls, emails, letters, really powerful coming from elected officials, our local city council members, but they track and count every email they get. So you all matter and the numbers make a difference. We are continuing to gather information, identify all the stores in Marin where these products, hemp products, are being sold. So we need help on that. We would love for people on this call just to be on the lookout. When you go to the gas station, you check out what's inside the convenience store, walk by a vape or smoke shop, head shop, and check it out and let us know if you see Delta 8, 9, 10, HHC, anything like the slides we've shown. Reach out to us, email us, marin4publichealth@gmail.com. And then we also want to hear from school officials, what they're seeing and confiscating on campus. Most don't even know about these products. As I said, we didn't until more recently. So reach out to us. And then this last slide shows our Be the Influence blog. As I said, it's an 8-minute read. It explains you think we've given you detail today, it explains in more detail, especially the health risks that we know about. So please forward the blog to other local officials and friends and parents, caregivers, school officials. And read our other blogs on cannabis that are on our Be the Influence website. We are going to be translating these blogs into Spanish. That is on our list to do starting next week. And join Be the Influence to get our newsletters. We send them out every other month so that you're in the know about what's going on in Marin, and most importantly, what we can do as parents, what we can do as community members and legislators. Okay, so I think we've got time for some Q&A. So fire away at Dr. Silver or I, and thanks again, everyone, for tuning in and listening.